Welcome back to Bonded Voices. Our episode we're going to cover today is something that's been on social media. It's been trending. People have been sharing it, and I actually saw it in one of our men's groups called 7 Life Lessons Men Learn Too Late in Life. I'm Ian.
I'm Greg.
This is Loren.
And this is going to be a great subject because reading through this article, it really made me think about a lot of things in life, and I probably could have come up with another 12 or more, but these 7 really hit the nail on the head. And let's dig right in. So the first one, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone.
I really wish I knew that when I was 18.
Well, I'm not sure it applies at 18. Because you still have to prove yourself. You want a job.
Yeah.
You want a significant other. There's still some proving of yourself. I think you reach a certain point in life where the need to do that, you don't need to recreate the wheel. You don't need to consistently be proving yourself in order to get traction in the world.
See, I'm surprised they put this as the first one on the list because, and I sensed it in your answer, I feel you do have to prove yourself to people. I feel I have to prove myself to my wife, to my kids, to my co-workers.
That's a good point. I mean, if you don't prove yourself...
What value have you got?
Exactly.
You know, I sense that in your tone, Greg, that you weren't sold on the idea that it was something you have to, a life lesson you have to learn. Now, maybe they're going down the path of the way you feel inside or the self-worth you feel of proving yourself. Mm-hmm. But you think of your clients, right? I don't think you'd go through the day and go, I don't care what they think.
Right. True. That would be contrary to the effort to build business.
Right.
I think there's a difference between someone that's overselling themselves, over proving themselves, validation through, we actually touched on this in an earlier podcast, the friends that are always one-upping, this why I'm the best person to be in this room with you right now methodology. And I think that you get done with as you get older in life, the need to oversell yourself.
Yeah, interesting, their first sentence in here. Many men feel intense societal pressures to showcase stereotypical ideals of success and masculinity from a young age. Now, I'd agree with that, mm-hmm. But I think on every level, if I ask my kids to go cut the grass, I actually hope that they would. We had this conversation earlier about what a garden is. If anyone's wondering, and the humour in this, I expect them to do a good job. I want them to say, "Dad, look, I did a good job."
Right.
And I think that's proving yourself, right?
That's definitely taking pride in what you're doing.
So are they trying to say don't? What is the
go to extremes or
I don't know. I don't know. I agree with you. I'm not sure if I totally believe this one.
Okay, number 2. Relationships should be mutually supportive partnerships.
I would agree with that. 100%.
Yeah, 100%.
If your partner doesn't support you, I mean, that's got to be pretty miserable.
And I think that one probably even falls away from even emotional relationships, sexual relationships. I think at work, if it's a partnership, if it's you're in business with someone, or even just doing tasks together, you want to know that they're not working against you.
Very true. You want to make sure that you're both rowing in the same direction.
Yeah, I would agree with that one.
See, because they talk in this article here about men viewing relationships as necessary alliances than supportive partnerships, where is there really a distinction between a necessary alliance and a supportive partnership? Is one forced and the other is actually agreed upon?
I would say necessary alliance to me sounds more of a business decision of this. I need to maintain this relationship for this reason, rather than I feel in my heart I want to maintain this relationship.
Right.
So in a work environment, you could be someone working on a project with you, mutually.
Or is it talking that there may be even not one-way relationships? Like, let's say you're working with a vendor and it seems that you keep putting in all the effort and they keep getting paid with all the work you're putting in and you don't get anything reciprocal.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's what they're talking to within there, because, I think, yes, within marriage, within partnership relationships, the idea of being mutually supportive, my goodness, can you imagine being married to someone who didn't support you? Like, that'd be a brutal every day. I'm sure there are people out there who deal with that, but
I think we've talked about this in another podcast, not the marriage side of it, but the circle of friends and how many close friends do you have? And over time, some friendships just slowly dissipate.
Right.
Because somebody decided there inevitably somebody was pulling harder than the other.
That's a great point.
They decided, you know what? Tired of pulling on this rope. And so I think that's where they're going with this.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Yeah, I think you've hit it. Like, they're saying here, with maturity, men, find better balance, giving and taking, in setting reasonable expectations within relationships. And maybe they're saying with younger, and again, idea of things that you don't learn until later in life. Maybe there's too many men feel like younger in life, and I've had it, and I've talked about it in one of our podcasts as well, where I had a friend where it seemed like I was doing all the work,
mm-hmm.
and me and him ended our production partnership together because I felt that, look, we've got to be pulling in the same direction and end together.
Well, I think you touched on something important just a few moments ago with when we're earlier in life, more concerned about, or there's more focus and more emphasis on outward appearances. And so that could correlate to this specifically. Well, if I want to be in the in crowd, I've got to have relationships with people in the in crowd. And those might be, every high school movie we've ever seen teaches us that the in crowd may not be as deep from a character point of view as the person in the movie that wants to be in the in crowd and then at the end decides, I don't want to be in that crowd. I think that's where they might be going here.
Right.
So the next one is focusing too much on work does not guarantee happiness.
So I think we learned this from Fred Flintstone cartoons. When it's quitting time, it's quitting time.
Yeah, but never do. Yeah.
But that's kind of hard to do in a world where, your employers are expecting more and more of you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would love to just say at 5 o'clock I flip a switch and walk out of my office and I'm done. But
sure.
And it is interesting, right? Because a lot of employers will talk about, are you really focused on, or have you bought into this work? And is that too much when it comes to work? Like you said, that at some point you've got to be able to turn off.
Mm-hmm.
There was a great article I read today about, they were talking about working from home isn't just a convenience, it's actually the ultimate mental health work-life balance, right? Because they're saying that your ability to set your own schedule around the house, do your own things, not have the pressure of people looking over your shoulder, and that is good. So the whole idea of the too much work does not guarantee happiness. And I think unless you love what you do, I'd say that's 100% true. I don't think you can ever be happy if you don't love what you do and you're just having to do it every day.
I would agree, but let's go back to the working from home. Many of the people that I've talked with that work from home feel that it is a tool that extends the amount of time they actually work. So
it does.
Contrary to the idea of I drive 30 minutes to the office, I clock in, I go out and take my smoke break, I then take my lunch break, and then I clock out and I drive home. I believe studies have shown that people will actually work more hours because they might work through their lunch. They might not take a break.
Yep.
That's very true. Plus, at any given time, if, like, in my industry, something could happen after hours, I get a call. I immediately log on. If I had to trudge into an office, it would be a whole different story. But, you know, with easy access to your office, being a work from home, it's very hard to shut off. You know, an extra 15 minutes, it's 5:15. Well, okay, whatever.
Sure.
Or, oh, I thought of something at 7 o'clock. Let me go log back in and go work on something a little extra.
It'll give me an advantage going into tomorrow.
Right.
But there are people, though, who get happiness out of their work. And I mean true happiness. They really feel like they absolutely love what they do. It defines them in a lot of ways. So, you know, I think maybe the onus on this one is to just not be in a situation where it is the overarching everything that you do every day is focused on just your happiness. You are listening to Bonded Voices. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service or on the web at www.bondedvoices.com. Thank you to all our sponsors, and now back to the show.
So, point number 4. Your physical health deserves attention too. I have 100% believe this. You have to take care of yourself, be in good physical condition. Otherwise, all the other points that we just talked about are impacted.
Well, think about how many people we know who either neglect the dentist or neglect even going for a physical going to the doctors, getting checkups, that sort of thing. Until something happens that throws them into that situation where they're regularly at that point.
Well, most people wait until it is an emergency, and then they go back in. Oh, I need to go back, and I really wish I would have walked those flights of steps every day instead of taking the elevator, or walk the dog around the block once a night, or whatever it happens to be.
I think it ties into the previous one. The focusing too much on work does not guarantee happiness. If you spend so much time working, you're hunched over the computer, for example, whatever it might be, there might be physical ailments based on too much repetition of the same action. And I'm not going to take the time to make myself a salad. I'm just going to grab pizza left over from last night, or whatever it might be that impacts dietary restrictions, because I've got to maximize the time that I'm working. I got to get this done. I got this project I got to do, whatever. And so I think there's a correlation to that. I would completely agree. I made some pretty dramatic physical dietary changes in 2023. Man, that put me on a different trajectory.
Right.
It's been great.
And I think, to your point, you can become real sedentary, sitting in a cubicle or sitting at a desk all day long. And you're right, you don't get out there, so your physical health does suffer, because it's hard to then, after work, when you finally meet with your spouse and you're like, hey, let's go work out. And both of you are probably like, oh, really? It's like work since 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning. Now we're going to want to go and do exercise. But the physical health side of things, I think, goes even further than just exercise. I think it's making sure that you're checking in on yourself. And I know I didn't do it. I was like, I'm bulletproof. I'll wait until the tooth really hurts to go to the dentist, which is stupid, because you then end up getting in much worse situations.
Well, what's interesting, and they talk about this in the article, to some extent I'm extrapolating a little bit, but it's common for men to feel a sense of accomplishment if around the house I can do this. I can move this heavy bucket. I can hang this picture, whatever it might be. We don't take care of the physical side of our bodies. We could work ourselves into a situation where we're no longer able to do that. some of the things that we take as a sense of pride, we may no longer be able to put a hammer on a wall above 6 feet or carry the bucket of pool chlorine tablets from the vehicle to the backyard, which then correlates to some potential depressionary issues or what's going on, midlife crisis, what have you.
Have they made 50-pound bags of cement heavier? Because I can't lift them as...
Yeah, they're now 54 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah, they increase.
Well, I mean, if you think about
it's
it,
the opposite of the shrinkflation.
Okay, yeah, that in more cement.
You think about it, like they always say, what is it? An ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure.
Yeah,
Yeah. Take the time, go to the doctor, get checked out of, occasionally. I don't follow that.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I haven't been to a doctor in years, but watch me.
But I was going to say, there is a point, though, where if you do go to the doctors and he's like, listen, get your act together. You got to stop doing this or you need to start doing that. It's good for a third party to hear that from.
So I hear what you're saying, Loren, but I disagree a little bit. I would say, from my point of view, you don't go to a traditional doctor, but you seek out information to make sure that you are making decisions for your best health.
True. Very
which
true.
doesn't fit into the traditional, I need to make this annual physical appointment, but you're still seeking out healthcare guidance.
That's true. That's true. I have a hard time with the current...
Well, we're lucky we got Dr. Sabir in our coffee group, so we got a doctor on hand.
Wait, so we talk about health stuff. We go hiking every week. And,
Oh, that's how he goes to the doctors.
Right. So you actually have a standing meeting every week.
I meet
Weekly.
with my doctor every week.
What are the rubber gloves for, Sabir?
I didn't think that appointment was today. All right, so moving on to the next one. The fifth topic, speak openly about your feelings. In this, I'm not sure that any of these topics ties better into what we have been doing with this Bonded Voices podcast, with the coffee talk, is the ability to articulate and share the feelings in an environment that's comfortable to share those. The stereotypical, if I look back to, let's say, my parents or my grandparents, stoic was a term that was often referred to in the men in my previous generation.
Right.
They didn't talk about things that they didn't want to talk about. They were very specific in not talking negative about people in their lives to other people.
Even if they were bad people.
Even if they were bad people, because that was just their code. Now, I believe in that same concept of we're not here to speak poorly of other people, but the ability to open up and share information provides a sense of release if you're not the only one carrying that weight, or even just the ability to articulate that to a close friend. They may do nothing with that information, but the process of you unloading that provides relief.
We had a conversation before this even started tonight where we all shared a common frustration, and I think it was cathartic to, express ourselves and express like the feelings we had about the subject, and in hearing other people's opinions on it. So now I think it's very helpful in general to know these things.
So if you're listening and you go onto the Bonded Voices website, you'll see we've got some articles published that show how conversations with other people, conversations with other men, for the men listening out there, actually, I'm going back to one of the earlier points, actually help you health-wise. They've shown it releases dopamine, it restructures the brain, and these have been peer-reviewed studies that they've done of this. And I've even had people say that they've listened to the Bonded Voices podcast and I've said about how we talk about things where we go to that deeper level than just superficial, that we actually share emotional stories.
Well,
and that's big when it comes to speaking openly, and not just about your life, right, but your feeling.
Yeah. Both of you had separate podcast sessions where each of you took the couch.
There you go.
I have yet to be on the couch, but I know that it's just right around the corner. So
that one's big, right? I think the speaking openly about your feelings and not learn that too late. I think that's one of the emphasis of the Bonded Voices podcast. Mm-hmm. And also, if you listen to the episode we did with the US Men's Sheds, director Mark Whitson, that's really important too, because their organization as well is structured around bringing men together to not just be superficial and closed, but to actually engage and open up.
So just to dovetail into that before we move on to the next topic, fascinating information on how many spouses pushed their husbands to become active in the Men's Sheds program, which I think is very telling of your spouse arguably should know you better than anyone else. And if you have the opportunity to have a spouse and you're in that relationship, having that open conversation with them, and it might be a situation where there might be something you might not want to share with that person, but they know, and hence this percentage of women that have pushed their husbands ultimately into being active with Men's Sheds so that they could build that camaraderie and that sense of community.
Right.
It's critical.
Yeah.
So moving on. Number 6, enjoy life's simple pleasures. So from a young age, we're taught it's not the destination, it's the drive. It's the how do you get there, not necessarily once you get there. That's so important. But some of these earlier topics, we think about the rat race. When you're younger, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. You're trying to work as much as you can because you might want to take the family on that drive through Yosemite National Park this summer, whatever it might be. That oftentimes we fail to stop and smell the flowers, to listen to the birds, to enjoy the beautiful weather. There's beauty all around us, and I am just as guilty as the next person of not seeing the beauty as much as I should. I started taking pictures in Instagram and posting them on sunsets, and that was a turning point for me of just a purposeful, I need to change, I need to notate this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that drives me with the weekly hikes with Dr. Sabir is, getting out, exploring nature, the simple things in life right there. We're in a technological society where it's very easy to get caught up with what's the latest movie, what's streaming now, well, let's go check social media. But if you unplug, I believe that was one of our first episodes, is put the phone down, unplug a little bit, and enjoy life. I'm sure your kids would enjoy it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the failings for people in this is that too many people live their life with the idea of, I will do this when that happens. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going to go on vacation until I've got this much money or in the bank, or I'm not going to go and see the family until B happens. And they just keep making more and more and more excuses why they can't do things. And they end up missing out on making memories, even just simple stuff. I don't want to go and see my relatives because I'm not in a good place. Are you ever going to be in a good place? Maybe you'll be in a better place if you go and see your relatives.
I remember having a conversation with one of my relatives at a family wedding. And my wife and I had been married for a few years at that point in time. And the cousin said, all right, when are you guys going to have a kid? Oh, well, we got... And he's like, do you think the kid notices? Do you think the kid cares? If they care if they're born into a loving family.
That's it. Yeah.
If mom and dad own the house, great. Mom and dad rent the house, great. Mom and dad live in an apartment complex, great. Kid just wants to be loved. But don't stop life because of those milestones that you arbitrarily put forward.
And like you, especially with children, Greg, sitting down and just playing Thomas the Train the simple game with the kid. It doesn't
I
have to
think-
be something structured. Just that is huge memories for us.
Well, I think we all joined the Little League and coached Little League just so we could have those extra time with our kids and have the simple,
Yeah.
even
I
though,
never knew how impactful that was going to be in my life.
really,
How impactful Little League and being very active in Little League and coaching in that. The three of us are having a cup of coffee right now because of that Little League.
was that
It led
eight?
to my first broken bone. Yeah. Everyone knows my son hit a baseball back at me. So, yeah, if I wouldn't have done that, it wouldn't have done that. But
Thankfully, the statute of limitations has
Exactly.
already expired.
And then our last point, number 7, which is really the foundation for Bonded Voices and our coffee group and everything we do with our other friends, is it's never too late for self-improvement.
We've had a few of these episodes. It's the New Year's resolutions. It's
Yeah.
how to be a better friend. There's a so
Gosh,
many-
we could go back over so many of our episodes. And I think that, and if you're listening and you want to go back and listen, most of our content isn't topical this week and non-topical next week. They're evergreen. And a lot of them are self-improvement.
Yeah, I'd say almost all of them, except for maybe 2 or 3 of them, were self-improvement in some form or fashion.
Like, am I living a rich life? That's had such good feedback and quite a lot of shares, and that's one I think you could listen to. I think we could probably listen to that for the next 5-10 years and it'd still be relevant.
In the conversation that we had earlier prior to sitting down now, there was topic about how to improve every day. How do I go to bed a better person than I was when I woke up?
Right.
A better friend, a better spouse. Maybe I'm smarter at work, so I've actually improved my time investment. I've maximized something there. But I remember reading this somewhere of get busy living or get busy dying.
Yeah. It really is a fork in the road, right? Which
Right.
one do you pick?
So it's, yeah.
Yeah, and it's never too late. I think for a lot of guys out there listening to us, find friends, get together, do things. The US Men's Shed is a great example of people have started woodworking and doing things that they've never done before. Get together with coffee, go on hikes. I wasn't a big hiker until Loren took me on a hike. There's a lot of stuff people can introduce to it. It's never too late for self-improvement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no age limit to learning.
There's not at all. So thank you for listening to us today. Please share Bonded Voices with your friends. And until next time, I'm Ian.
So hold on. Before I say I'm Greg, why not? Hey, jump onto the website. Let us know which one of these topics you think is the most interesting, or something that maybe you've gone through that you found one of these to be pivotal. We'd love to hear from you. And I'm Greg.
This is Loren.
And I'm Ian. And we'll see you again on Bonded Voices. Hi, this is Ian from Bonded Voices. Each month we will be giving away $100 in gift cards to our fans. All you have to do is register on the bondedvoices.com site and solve the monthly puzzle. It's easy to do, no purchase necessary. Thanks for being a listener.